Hi guys, my name is Remington Ponder, and I'll be reading a story from Treasury of Curious George on behalf of the Greater Atlanta, United Way of Greater Atlanta, written by Margret and H.A. Ray. Actually, there are many stories in this treasury, but I will be reading you one specific one of my favorites. It's Curious George Goes to the Toy Store, right here. So we have Curious George visits a toy store. This is George. He was a good little monkey and always was very curious. Today was the opening of a brand new toy store. George and the man with the yellow hat did not want to be late. When they arrived, the line to go inside wound all the way around the corner. When a line is this long, it's not easy for a little monkey to be patient. George sneaked through the crowd, and all he wanted was a peek inside. George got to the door, and just as the owner opened it, he said, "This is no place for a monkey," she said. But George was so excited he was already inside. Balls, dolls, bicycles, and games filled the shelves. There were so many toys. George didn't even know how some of them worked. And how about these hoops? What did they do? George was curious. He climbed up to the first one out of the pile. It wouldn't move. George pulled harder. Still, it wouldn't move. George pulled with all fours. Suddenly, there was a terrible crash. Red, blue, green, and yellow hoops bounced up and down and everywhere. "Look," exclaimed a boy, bouncing up and down by himself. "Why haven't I seen one of these in years?" said the boy's grandmother. She put a hoop around her waist and gave it a spin. George tried the hula hoop too. Then George pretended to be a wheel. He rolled and rolled. Oops, he rolled right into the owner. The owner shook her head and she said, "I knew you were trouble. Now you've made a mess of my new store." Again, she tried to stop George, and again, George was too quick. In only a second, he was around the corner, and on the highest shelf below him, George saw a little girl point to a toy out of reach. "Mommy, can we get that dinosaur?" she said. George picked up the dinosaur and lowered it to the girl. She was delighted. So was the small boy next to her. "Could you get that ball for me, please?" he asked George. George reached up and grabbed the ball and bounced it to the boy. "Might I have that puppet way over there?" asked another girl. How lucky that George was a monkey. He swung off the shelf, hung on to a light, picked up the puppet, and put it right into her hands. "What a show!" shouted a boy. The children had held up their new toys and cheered. What a commotion! Immediately, the owner came running, and then came the man with the yellow hat. "I think we've had enough monkey business for today, for one day," the owner frowned. Just then a girl got in a long line to pay. "What a great store," he said. Oops. What a great idea to have a little monkey helping you," her father told the owner. "I guess you're right," the owner replied and smiled. Then she gave George a special surprise. "Thank you, George," she said. "My grand opening is a success because of you. Perhaps monkey business is the best business after all." The end. And you see George working there. So once again, this is just one story out of many. But I just want to thank you guys so much for listening. And yeah, just hope you guys have a blessed day. Here's George.